Ricardo Libório is widely regarded in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as one of the top black belts produced by Grand Master Carlson Gracie and the icon of the sport. He is the co-founder of American Top Team and Brazilian Top Team, IBJJF World Champion, a legend, an icon.
Oh God,
Thank you for making the time.
Thank you, man.
Thank you, Master. Thank you.
I truly appreciate you guys. So I've got to say that, man. I truly appreciate you, especially so much. You know.
Thank you.
I have good memories about this. Remember in Minas Gerais? I remember you were a kid. I said, "Who is this? Who is this American kid who's kicking everybody's ass?" And you have that perfect Portuguese, you know, great attitude about competition and everything, man.
So you were saying about the memories.
Oh, you couldn't hear anything. I said that I have great memories of you competing in Minas Gerais, you know, and this kid, American kid coming in with a perfect Portuguese at the time. I remember this, and kicking everybody's ass but with a great class and being respectful for whatever. But man, I love it. I love to see in you where you are right now from where you were, and you know how you inspire people and how you continue, you know, involved with a beautiful sport, man. It's awesome. So I appreciate you to invite me here, you know.
Thank you, Master. Man, you know, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu has done so much for me as a person. So, man, everything I can do, my life is kind of, I feel in a way, dedicated, you know, and you're such a big part of the history of the sport as well for me coming up. And so back at you again, it's such an honor and pleasure for me to talk to you like this.
Man. It's the same, you know that. It's always as honest as it can be, you know, as honest as it can be. Thank you so much.
How was it growing up in the 80s? You know, I was looking at some of the bio in the 80s, growing up in the Carlson Gracie and as a kid. How was the scene back then?
Okay, let's go straight to how I started, right? This is important. So my first girlfriend, you know, you probably heard of Rosado. Carlos Rosado is the only red belt from Carlson Gracie. It was a coincidence that he was the uncle of my first girlfriend. I was 15, 16 years old, you know. I walk into her house, there was a barbecue, you know, Brazilians barbecue all the time. So we're in a barbecue, and I was a stocky, short kid. This is still to today. A little bit much fatter right now. But at the time, he saw me. I was a little bit stocky, and he said, "Man, you got to start training jiu-jitsu, man." And I heard of jiu-jitsu, but I really never fit in. You know, jiu-jitsu at that time, it was not really, really popular. You had this Vale Tudo, you know, when I was almost up at the time that Rickson fought Zulu, and there was this little Vale Tudos going on, but it was not a popular, you know, martial arts. It was a cool martial arts.
Right.
It was a kind of underground South Zone of Rio, and a lot of guys who were related to surfing. And I was like to say that I was a surfer, but I was not. I just curious, and I love to surf. You know that. You know, and I grew up in Rio, right on the coast. So weekends, you go to the beach. Yeah. That's the most democratic thing there is in Rio, because you don't really need much money. And the beach is for everyone, free, and it definitely leads to some other places, right? You go to the beach and, hey, man, there was a barbecue someplace here. There's a party there. And suddenly when you see it, you're involved with the social networking. Now, I grew up in Humaitá. You know, for those that know and listen to the Humaitá, I actually lived 6 minutes door to door from my house, walking to the Gracie Humaitá headquarters. But I had no idea of that. So when Rosado invited me to go to do jiu-jitsu, I just hopped on a bus, man. I went to Copacabana, which is the neighborhood, you know, nearby where I live in Humaitá. And and I just fall in love, man. It's just it was first of, you know, this love at first sight for me. First of all, because Rosado was there. Rosado and his nephew Geronimo actually were the first guys who teach me jiu-jitsu, the first class. I remember for the first class.
Wow.
And I remember he's teaching me the armbar. Look at this. And he ended up being, you know, I was related to his family there for 4 years. I was involved with his niece. So I really developed a relationship with him. It was amazing because, and there's a more to add to that. Right after that, I think it's not long after, De La Riva and I turned into really good friends. Me and Ricardo De La Riva.
Mm-hmm.
And I end up introducing De La Riva's wife, which is right now, which is is a cousin of my first girlfriend. Look at this. Look how far behind we go. I was 16, 17 years old. You know, Ricardo is 3 years older than me. And I introduced him to his, you know, now wife, you know, at the time, girlfriend. And we hang out every weekend. You know, we're together every day with jiu-jitsu, and every weekend we're hanging out together because they were all related to the family. And Rosado was involved too. So it was really this gathering of jiu-jitsu guys, even going to family meetings or hanging out. I was heavily involved into jiu-jitsu. So that was it for me. You know, it was a combination of the two great things that for me is essential is, you know, I'm a very family oriented guy in a way. I mean, I love the community of family, and the sport is seen as way more than just a physical sport to me, you know, to you too, Alberto. I know is that, you know, you got it, but there's a lot of people can't understand the application of the sport for everything. It's sociological, social gatherings. That's your people, number one thing. And if you create this right environment, you heal your mind and heal your spirit, which is nothing to do with religion, but the spirit for me is a connectivity with things that you don't really know. It makes you happy, you know. Right. There's nothing to do directly with religion, but definitely, man, there's people that believe in nature and people that believe in I don't know, karma or destiny or luck or whatever it is that you don't know how to understand. You don't understand why, but if it happens, you know, it's stronger than your desire, and you have to say, okay, it is what it is. It's life. It is karma. It is destiny. It's luck, whatever you wanted to call it there. And jiu-jitsu has a little bit to do with that because it's more powerful than you sometimes. You know, you've got to, you know, you take lessons from there. It's not that it's you. I don't want to create one identity. It just sounds like a crazy guy. I'm talking about the spiritual side of jiu-jitsu. No, but if you pursue happiness, man, if you pursue happiness, which is everything that we do, is to live to try to pursue happiness. Not pleasure, it's happiness, right? Sometimes it is just to measure in a skills thing. Shit's going to happen to you. Yeah. How you deal with the shit, you know, and how does it affect you in daily basis in your family, that's happiness. You can suffer a lot, but if the scale is tipped into you having this understanding and dealing with your problems and living the life, you're probably going to say that when time to die, you say, man, I was happier than miserable, right? Yeah. And the jiu-jitsu helps with that scale. Yeah, it does. Yeah, you know, I truly believe that this is really, it's a new therapy, Alberto. Yeah. But we're behind in a couple of things. There's so many things that we can talk about it. That, you know, the way jiu-jitsu is implemented and the way it was taught, there's time for changing now to be taught in a different way. It's not just competition, not just a tough guy. And you are old school guy. You were one of the first guys, the first American guys to go live in the United States, to go full term, to learn the culture, to learn the language, to do everything, to get a good understanding
Right. To live in Brazil. Yeah.
But yeah, you did. Very few people did, you know? And go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm talking too much.
No problem. You know, I just, you know, when you were talking about all the things and like, I feel like for me, I'm just thinking to myself, you know, like, especially like the Brazilian culture, you're talking about barbecues and the friendships and these things. It really helped me tap into something bigger than myself. And because of the contact, because of, you think of somebody choking you and, you know, you think of maybe violence, but because of that touch, you know, it really, for me as a young man, it really brought that out for me to tap into the, you know, something bigger than myself. And because of that, I think it really transformed me as a person. And that's why, you know, I always go back to, you know, I fought and things like that, but it always comes back to jiu-jitsu for me, for as a tool to help us reach our potential, you know. But you know, so it really resonates for me everything that you're talking about.
Alberto, I'm going to even steal your line right now, man. I'm telling you that I try to define it spiritual, and I usually define the spiritual thing, not saying first of all it's not religion, because I'm not religious.
Right.
You know, I really not. You know, I have my religion, but it's not.
I mean, we're energy, right? We're mainly energy. If you look at an atom, right, we're like, there's the nucleus, you know, and it's 0.00001 like a mass, and the rest is energy, right? So we're energy, and certain things raise your energy level up. And you know, you're the master, you know, but just, you know, you see people shy, low self-esteem come in, and you know, you start training with them, and then you start to see them change, right, forever. And so all that energy gets mixed in, right? And they become better people, stronger people.
You see, Alberto, for me right now is this. I know, you have it. You know, you have it, the full understanding of what jiu-jitsu represents to you. I could not put in better words for what you say that's bigger than us. I could not put in better words. That's what defines this three components to me. You know, it's physical, of course. It's mental, yes. If you're in the right place, in the right environment, it's gonna be good for you. It's gonna be mentally good for you. If you choose the glove fit in the hand, because
it
should not go to a place.
If it fits
your purpose. If it really fits your purpose, because don't go look for a recreational while you just have competitive. Don't look for competitive when you have recreational, or you can even get both, but make sure where you're getting, you know, the instruction in it is important, because you can end up hurting physically, spiritually, morally, and everything else, because you choose it wrong. You know, sometimes it's not for you. I'm at 55 years old, 50-something years old, Alberto. As much as I competed and I live in that Carlson Gracie area that's with pure pressure, I could not ever, with 55 years old, step into the mats like that right now, me, and try to be competitive. Even if I am this mental competitive guy, it's going to be detrimental. I shouldn't. I have to modify, and I have to look for the right place. You know? And it's hard. But what I was going to try to tell you is, see, the inspirations comes. What you do right now, but sometimes I do it through the lives, is to try to inspire, not just get the flare out. But the most important, I think the really important is the breakdown of how. Because you can be inspired as it is, but if you don't know the step-by-step, that you went to Brazil, you lived the whole entire deep into integration culture of everything, you find out the step-by-step because you actually went there. You one of the few guys who really lived that feeling. And there was no really, as much as you have one of the best instructors that I ever met, because Draculino is for me one of the best that ever had. But even with that, if you actually ask if this was an instructional, comprehensive, educational tool for you to learn everything, it was not. It was porrada. Right? Porrada. And when you say, And when you say all these values that you're talking about here, there was discipline, there was focus, there was this, all these values that you're learning from martial arts and jiu-jitsu. There's a lot of people that don't even know how to actually, break down this. How do you express, how you really show somebody that you have in discipline if you don't even know what a discipline is? You have to kind of, in a way, find the right tools. That's what the transformation that I think is for us right now. Alberto, we as Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guys, if you want to progress, we have to create tools for people to learn it more comprehensively. There has to be an educational system for that.
Yeah.
And for much more, because we were based in competition and efficiency of the sport, and that's where the sport came out of there. But it's not what it makes the sport to stay.
Right.
What makes the sport to stay, it is systems, man.
Yeah.
Systems. And that's the next step for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, in my opinion.
Yeah.
We'll
go back to this thing, because I want to talk to you about some of the things that I've been doing, because I've been studying a lot of like neuroscience, and I mean, it all comes back to jiu-jitsu for me, at the end of the day. It's all because, that's what I was doing with jiu-jitsu. We'll visit that in a little bit, but I wanted to talk about how you got into competition from beginning, not from the beginning, but yeah.
I haven't just got there one day and Carlson just put my name on a novice. That was the white belt. I had, you're gonna laugh at this. I had 2 months of jiu-jitsu. 2 months of jiu-jitsu. And there was this competition. That competition at that time, there was once a year, twice a year. There's
right.
Not many competitions. So there is this competitions for blue belts beginners that never competed before. You never competed before, but there was a lot of blue belts there. They were there for a long time. So Carlson Gracie gave me the blue belt with 2 months. Go there and compete. And I went there and I won,
Wow.
So after 2 months of reality, after 2 months, I got my blue belt. That's what I stayed. But also, I stayed in a blue belt for almost 6 years.
Yeah.
But I got the blue belt with 2 months. There was a competition. Hey, go there, go compete there, And it was a novice, was no Carioca. This was 1987 or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah, and 87 or 88. I don't even remember.
And so was Holz Gracie still alive at that time?
No. When I went there, Halls passed, or not passed. When I went there was it's not right after, a couple of years after. And what happened, of course, Carlson had the same, Carlson and Halls were actually partners.
Right.
And whereas Carlson Gracie's school, there was 2 rooms, right? And Halls was one and Carlson was in the other one, where actually he was teaching on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturdays were divided between Carlson and Halls Gracie. And when I got there, Halls passed, and Halls, everybody said that was the guy. The only thing that was going for Halls is the only bad thing is he was still young, very young. But that guy was some more than anybody else. Everybody said that Halls has some tremendous leadership characteristics. He was by far the best guy in the room. He was open-minded to learn things. He's courageous. He was generous. Everybody was saying that Halls was amazing. Everybody, from many different sources. It gotta be, it's gotta be many different sources since how cool this guy was. And when he passed it, Carlson continued in the same spot. And it seems like all those Gracies were training with him. At the time, you have Carlos Gracie Jr., who was his helper. I think Carlinho was his helper. But the Machado brothers were there. Hansel was there. Halfa was there. Other Gracies were there. Hillian was there. Everybody was training with Halls. Including Hickson and Hoyler and Hoyce. all those guys were training under Halls.
Mm-hmm.
How curious is this?
Yeah.
So when he passed it, Carlinho went to Baja to form the Baja Gracie. And the Machados went with him, and the Henzo and the other guys went with him. And the Gracie Humaitá, you know, was,
Or the Gracie.
I don't know if they were exist. I probably they were existed already, but they just went back to the training over there. But before they were training together, you know, which was pretty, it just showed how much Halls was the leader of this whole entire community, you know. Yeah, but I was introduced to Carlson, and that was it, you know, from white to black belt. I just trained over there. You know, I learned a lot from many people, but I was under Carlson Gracie style.
Yeah, Carlson Gracie style.
Gracie style. Alberto, it's Carlson Gracie style. I gotta tell you something. Because I learned so much from De La Riva. I learned a lot from De La Riva. I was one of the only guys working from the bottom. You know, I was guardero. You know that. That's a little bit different. The majority of the guys were takedowns and passing.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's interesting. You like De La Riva, and then you. Yeah, even though you had more muscle and you're stronger.
Yeah.
But yeah, you played guard too. That's right. Because we had Morbitech, like we had maybe last year a couple times, I think, come out here. And one of my best friends, his name is Alexandre. We call him Porquinho, you know. He was Carlson Gracie in Belo Horizonte at the beginning, and then when the Rui left, you know, he came to Dracolinos, you know. He's actually here right now. He's staying here with me in Los Angeles.
Rui?
No, Alexandre, the Porquinho is staying with me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But he's actually a reason too why I live in Los Angeles these days, because we came to a Rickson Gracie tournament in 2000 in Los Angeles. Because I used to live in New Mexico, and he was bugging me. He was like, hey, let's go out the night before the tournament, and I was always like very like straight and just too serious, to be honest, you know. And he's always like, come on, let's go out, let's go out and hang out a little bit. And he kept asking me, and I finally went, and I went out and just for 30 minutes or something like that. And I met my wife, you know. I met my wife that night. And,
look at that.
Yeah. Just because of random, he was persistent, and we went out, and, you know, and here I am like 20 years later. Well, I moved here like 13, my son's 13, so 13 years ago.
Oh.
And because I used to live in New Mexico.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where you're from, right?
Right. New Mexico.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that. You're from New Mexico. That's cool, Alberto.
Yeah.
And how is that late, man? A huge transformation.
Yeah, it's big, a lot different, you know. But it's been amazing, you know. It's different, very different from New Mexico. I love the training, like the mountains and the altitude, and there's no distractions. You know, there's no distractions. But for my family, it's been great because my wife is she's Armenian, so she has a very, very big family. So it's been very great, very good for our kids, you know, for my family. But also, there's not a lot of people in New Mexico, and in Los Angeles, there's a lot of people. So any work that you do there in New Mexico, you know, you can 10 times it here in Los Angeles. The same amount of effort, you get 10 times the results, you know.
True.
So you know, it's been good. It's been very good, you know, and on a lot of different levels. Of course, I miss my family, and I love New Mexico because that's my home. But everything's good, you know. Can't complain. The beach is nice, right?
You still have family there?
Yes, my mom and my family. Yes. Aunts and uncles. So my sister also, my younger sister. So yeah, I get to go for Christmas and things like that. But Los Angeles is nice, you know.
That's cool.
Yeah.
20 years or 13 years? 20
so
years.
13 years ago, I moved to Los Angeles.
Okay. That's when your son was born.
My son was born. Yeah.
But you said that your wife she's from Armenia, but she is from LA. I mean, there's family.
Yeah. She moved here when she was in the 80s. So, you know, probably when she was like 11 or 12, you know, something like that.
Hey, do you know the guys from there was such a good group of Armenian guys there from some of the best Carl Parisian.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, of course. I know Manny Gamborian and
Gamborian and
yeah,
Carl Parisian. I
yeah,
think Carl Parisian for me is one
yeah,
of the best guys on applicating judo for MMA.
yeah.
Remember
100%.
that. I remember studying him a lot because I trained Thiago Alves. So I trained Thiago for that fight. So we have to counter a lot of those
Yeah.
clinches and try to come in. It was, I thought it was impressive with judo.
He brought the judo game right to
Yeah, it
MMA.
was one of the first ones, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really effectively doing judo and throwing everything in it.
Yeah. I'm friends with all the Armenian guys here, but Carl for sure. Like as far as like the judo style and bringing that to MMA, like I think still in my opinion, he had some of the best fights, just grappling wise. With Diego Sanchez and Nick Diaz.
That old school. That's old school UFC. I love that. It's not even old school. It's like kind of in a generation.
You were around at the original old school, the Valetudo days.
That's true.
Talk to me at the Valetudo. Tell me some stories. Tell me some history. What was the mindset? We're talking about the group being a part of something that's bigger than yourself. I think of you. I always think of you cheering for the Carlson guys. You were always there, right in the front. Even we talked. I think we talked for the first time in the stands. But you were like one of the generals, if not the general. And
no way. I'm definitely. I'm really, like you said, man. I just really. This was everything to me.
Yeah.
But it's not. I don't pretend to have that much of the leadership there. I was just so in love with everything. Yeah. Just one thing about when I started doing this, I had a job, I work in a bank. And Bank of Brazil, you probably know that you live there. Yeah. Bank of Brazil is a government job.
I remember you were sponsored by Banco do Brasil.
Yeah.
You were
sponsored.
Was really, you had the patch.
That was a big patch. That thing was actually my upgrade to get out of there.
Oh my God.
To be honest with you. That was the whole entire plan. That was an evil plan for me to actually step out of Bank of Brazil. But at the time I worked at the bank, and there is one thing. I'm talking about a big transformation. People have to understand this. And I think you're gonna link everything there. 1991, Carlson started training the guys against the Luta Livre guys. So there's this big confusion. There was a big mass there at the Copa Nastra. That was an event there in Urca. You know Urca, right? Yeah. You remember Urca? Urca is a neighborhood in Rio, which is actually it's like a shoe horse, controlled by I think if I'm not wrong, is the Navy or the Army.
Right.
They have events inside there. So there was not any physical confusion or altercation, but the Luta Livre guys came to a jiu-jitsu tournament and challenged all the jiu-jitsu guys. And from that, the guys were accepted to go into the fighting. So Murillo, Fabio Gurgel, Marcelo Bering, Amaury Bitech, who was supposed to be fighting there, and Walid Ismail. So from that, they set up this event that was actually jiu-jitsu against Luta Livre, and Carlson was the head coach. This was very important for a couple of reasons. Number one is, really was for that generation the first time that all the jiu-jitsu guys with different groups, like Fabio is a main opponent from all of us, Fabio Gurgel and Travin and Leo Castelo Branco and all those guys, he just started training with us. Marcelo Bering, he was the best student of Carlson Gracie. They started training all together against the Luta Livre guys. So that was this really big union, jiu-jitsu against Luta Livre, and Carlson is the general. But one big transformation from that people don't realize, but you're going back there in the history. Alberto, Carlson Gracie team used to train at night. We used to train from 5 o'clock to late at night. That was the real, high-level training, which is, take a look at this. at the same time that you have it, fantastic competitors, but also you have that guy that was a regular 9 to 5 guy who comes there and train hard and compete during the weekends, but he, you know, that guy is not considered professional. When the Carlson actually decided to separate and train people for 1991 event, they started coming at noon. So they took the training from night to noon. And then you see the big separation in between pro fighters and not pro fighters. This was a big separation. And I'll tell you why. Because after 1991, there was this big boom of guys from Carlson Gracie that took the concentration of the gi, which is everybody was just training with the gi, right, to train no gi and vale tudo. So 1991 was the mother era of the real birth of MMA. It was vale tudo at the time, but 1993, UFC was created.
Right.
So kind of sparking in 1991 with this event. And there was one thing about the event. This 1991 event, it was aired on TV by Global, which is this big TV. It's the biggest. It's like they're comparing to the NBC, ABC here in the United States. So imagine at prime time, everybody's seeing those guys fighting. What happened is jiu-jitsu guys beat the luta livre guys, and suddenly the jiu-jitsu popularity, boom, skyrocket. At least in between the teenager groups. Of course, the older, generation of people in Brazil was horrified of the fighting, and that's human cockfighting. That was, it played out pretty bad for us.
Right.
Everything changed. Everything changed now. In 1993, UFC was created. UFC was not MMA. UFC still vale tudo, and progresses to no holds barred. And after that turns into MMA. But you see the rules that today. And when you go to Brazil nowadays, because, and let's be honest, man, because of 1991, because of UFC, the popularity of jiu-jitsu skyrocketed because of Hoist and what he had done it. It's just skyrocket. Everybody was seeing what happened. It's just things just, boom, prove the world that jiu-jitsu is efficient and people have to learn it. Now, more and more people started moving to the United States with all the opportunities that was presented. That was a demand from that. But at the same time, we grew in popularity, but we did not grow in tools, judo, for example, and I like to use judo as an example. It came to a academic input to try to spread out this in the school system, and to a much broader audience with no intentions to provide just to high-level competitors. For us, it was high-level competitors, man. Prove that the sport exists, prove that's good, and that. You live that more than a few, Just a few people live like you did, Yeah.
I remember, I
don't know if you can hear. Can you hear me well?
Yes, I can. Yes. So I remember, that was the time that got my attention, right, as a teenager, and I was like, I want to learn that, and then that's how I ended up out there. And I remember that was the time that I came up, right, like 94, 95, and looking at the, just the popularity, but I had a different. We talked about at the beginning how it's like much more than just fighting, right? But back then it was all about the fighting and that it's the best and number one, right? And as a young man, as a teenager, I was all in, and it got a bad reputation, right, as well in Brazil as well. Like it's only for thugs and for gang guys, right?
People sometimes ask me about, well, you didn't fight that much. Well, there is one thing. I worked for the Bank of Brazil, and I had this sponsorship, in the Bank of Brazil. You knew it. You knew it, and you could never mix any big company with Vale Tudo.
Right.
No way. In Brazil at the time, it was like that was Bennett. It's almost like comparing it. It's somebody smoking pot on the 60s. I don't know. Something really on the 50s.
Right.
You know, oh, you're gonna go crazy. You're crazy. You do something like this. You're really marginal. You're a bad guy, flat out. Comparing, you know, I don't know.
What did your parents think? What did your parents think of you getting involved in this whole scene? You know.
Oh, just thought it was crazy, honestly. And there was one point there for me, you know, that I made a movement to get sponsored by the Bank of Brazil, and I kept working for the bank while I was working with jiu-jitsu. And at one point, I have to go back. They say, you got to go back. Sponsorship is gone. Go back there. And I said, no, I can't. I can't go back to a desk 9 to 5 and just live my life like this. I can't. It's just not. I just find out that this is not for me. You like it or not, I had a certainty of that, you know, bank. I would never be happy being a banker, ever. You know.
You went to college? You went to study banking?
I went to college for business.
So you had a business degree?
Yeah, but it's not. I hate it. I did it because, you know, as young, you know, my father was a superintendent in a bank. So it was kind of progressively work in a bank, work in a business administration, you know, and be progressive for that. But I absolutely hated that. This is really, I would never be happy, ever. Ever. And there was another thing too. I would never amount anything special. I was a survivor for happiness, but it's more than that. I would never have that feeling that, okay, this is why you came here to do it. This is bigger than you. This is more important, and you can help people with that. I never have with banking. I would never have. Then I have this with jiu-jitsu. You know, of course, it's ups and downs in terms of the financial, commercial part of the system, especially if you don't know things.
Right.
But that's happiness.
You stay true to yourself.
That's it. I can't. I tell my kids, I tell my wife, that's what it is. I can't do anything different because I was so committed with which I believe that this can heal people in a holistic way, especially if you're in the right place with the right, you know, with the right communion with what you wanted for life.
Right.
This is the new Everett. This is new therapy. It's a special place.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I believe. And I know you got there. But there's a lot of people that can't get Alberto because they didn't see that. You know, the first vision they have is efficient, is a martial arts. And a lot of the white belts are afraid to step into the martial arts school.
Right.
A lot of people are. And how to break that barrier.
Intimidating. Yeah.
It's intimidating.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking about the first world championship in 1996, and you fought Remco Pardo. He had fought in the UFC, right? He flew from Europe, right? From Netherlands.
Netherlands.
Competed, and you the Guardero, you pulled guard and beat him in the heavyweight division, you know? So could you talk to me about
I think it was open. I think it was open division.
Okay.
Yeah, it was an open way. Yeah, he was really much heavier. Which, by the way, that guy, man, I love that guy. He is such a special person too, man. Imagine that, Alberto, again, another thing that connects you and him. You know what is to come as a foreigner guy to compete at the worlds, which is, we know that's the worlds is not really as the worlds that you've seen in Olympics. But you compete in the massive Brazilian event. I mean, it's dominated by Brazilians. It's competed. It's root into culture of Brazil. And he went there and he competed in front of everybody else,
Yeah.
He got skills. He got the mindset. That guy, I give it all the respect in the world for him. And I really do. I think he's a special person, A lot of people wouldn't do it. As you too, man. How many people do you really actually know that will move to a country? Yeah, you want to learn. You will go full term, man. Go there and learn the language, learn the culture, live the life, feel it, experience it, breathe it, smell it. All those things. It's not for everyone.
Yeah. What was the feeling, what was for they organized, okay, I know it's very Brazilian, right? But the first world championship, what was the feeling? What was that like? And the different teams, Gracie Baja, Carlson Gracie, what was the energy like? What are some of the memories you have of that year, that time?
Alberto,
so what was the feeling like at that time, of the first world championship? You had the Carlson Gracie team, you had the Gracie Baja, you had had the rivalries, right? What was the energy like coming into the first world championships?
For me, it was very special for me because I knew that if I win that tournament, I will have a big change in my life through the Bank of Brazil. So I knew it. I did everything right, from the diet to the training. There was no cutting corners at all. I knew that if I really concentrated and put my time into it, it would change my life. Oh, it's because of World Championships? No, it's because I was so attached to Bank of Brazil as my sole provider that I couldn't see anything else. I got this anchor of beliefs, that this is what you got to do the rest of your life. You work in a bank and you build, and when I won the World Championships, that was more important than other accomplishments, And for me, it was very important to win that. And I had this in mind. So I did everything right to do it. It was a big event. That was a big event. That was 4,000, 5,000 people there. Don't forget this. The sport always was big. And that time, 90-something years, the middle of 90s, I can say that was massive. There was that amount of people practicing. There's that amount of people watching. There was support. And that time in the 90s, that was a golden age of the sport.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of, it passed a little bit. It was not underground anymore. It was not just something that few were doing it. It started spreading out. And we were the first generations to be more professional about it, I believe. Like Draculino, Draculino competed in '96, black belt.
Right.
Those guys were in the peak. The black belt is you're a black belt. Everybody's there for years. You compete in a black belt and you win a black belt, you're competing against guys that are there for a couple years ahead of you, maybe.
Yeah.
That's the problem. But sometimes you have this tremendous brown belt, which is amazing. But the top state you stay in a brown belt is 4 years, 3 years, 4 years. If you're high-level competitors, you'll stay 3 years, 4 years, top. But you go to black belt, you have guys there for 15 years, 10 years.
Right.
They live everything, all the experience.
Like I remember I had to qualify, to represent Gracie Baja, I had to qualify, I had to do a bunch of matches, and then, 6, 7 matches even to do a thing. Was it the same thing for Carlson to be on the A team?
Yeah, for me, it was a little bit different because I won the nationals in 1995.
But I'm thinking on the under maybe the under belts like blue belt, purple belt.
Oh yeah. Oh, there was a lot of guys. They have to do qualifiers.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And remember the qualifiers inside of Carlson Gracie or Baja Gracie, man, it was probably the guy who wins the qualifiers is going to win the worlds, you know, we're going to win the tournament because it's so hard.
Yeah.
Such high quality training, you know, it's
so much
it's different.
Yeah.
I can't say that nowadays there's so many in the lower belts. It's just so many people teaching, and the way you learn today is different than we learned before.
Right.
The way you learned it before was really learning. I'm not talking about training. I'm talking about learning. You don't have an internet there. You rarely see a video here and there. Nowadays, you just absorb it. And at that time, well, maybe at that time they were in the beginning of things, but the conditioning, it was not as developed as it is nowadays, right? Nowadays you can't do one without the other. It's just impossible. You can't compete. There at the time, you see guys training, go to compete, but now it's undeniable. You have to do your conditioning and you have to do your training. You have to be under under the microscope on everything. Otherwise, you're not going to win.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, I had to go and find Paqueta to get VHS tapes so I could study the videos, you know, like now you can watch it live, right? You can watch on YouTube, you know, the matches in Abu Dhabi. I had to chase Paqueta down and buy all the VHS tapes from him. I had to record the matches of like the black belts, you know, and break it down and study it in my house. I had to record the Sport TV, you know, the matches on Sport TV.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. But for you to get this, brother, you went deep into the rabbit hole. You know, you went deep to know what is Sport TV, to translate, to know Paqueta. I mean, you are in the bubble. You're part of, you know, you're part of it.
I'm proud, you know, I'm very proud. Man, you just part of the era. You know, I was the young guy coming up, you know, but to see you guys you black belts, and I mean, you guys are my inspiration, you know, and it's so interesting now too that we go to the Master World Championships and I see like the Gracie Baja guys hanging out, the old school Gracie Baja. They're not even Gracie Baja anymore, you know, but the old Gracie Baja guys and the Carlson Gracie guys, you know, the old school guys hanging out together, having dinner. They were rivals, right?
Yep. And Big time.
Now the bond is so strong after all these years.
It's like people that compete. Sometimes people don't understand, man. There is so much merit in competing, even if you lose. If you compete in MMA like you did, you know, and you see all those guys that competed with you, even if you submitted them in 30 seconds, 20 seconds, whatever it is there, that courage of the person to get inside a cage with you, or vice versa, right? It's just, man, that's something you cannot take for granted, man. You can't. But there is an unwritten rule, and I believe in MMA, that you really, as much trash talk that they have it, because there is a whole entire institution behind this trash talk that, you know, they express the numbers and how you make more attention and awareness and sell more and make more money in your bank account. You kind of have to fall into the system that shows that makes you money. But whoever steps in or take the challenge for whoever it is, brother, it's how you not respect it. You got to respect. You're doing something that very few people have done it. Yeah. You know?
I was just thinking, sorry, I don't interrupt you. I was just thinking of the guys, and I when I look back at my history, because I competed against Carlson Gracie guys and some rivals, you know, and you know, you kind of come up and we're the younger generation, so we're like, those are the rivals, like we're gonna beat them no matter what. Like we almost like hate, you know, like
it is. And it built this way. But at the same time, look at this, Alberto. At the same time, there's a different phase now, man. this phase already gone, right? This
Right.
new generation don't have the same thing. The new generation, and I think the future is going to be even more that will be individuals. You know, we're growing so much, the sport grew so much, that will be individuals. And these individuals, of course, they will be directed to places where you're going to be this high level performance training. Now, you not as soccer or as football, you're not going to have time for hate if you're just being professional in it. You know, somebody pays you here and hire you here doing this. It is what it is.
Yeah.
You don't have this living emotional things that create the sport as we did, you know, creonch and this.
Yeah, creonch.
But at the same time, you gotta think this way, man. Very few people have done what you did. Very fewer are going to be in a high level, high performance as it is now, as the sports, you know, grows. But if we don't create something that shows more the benefits, because believe me, by the IBJJF standards, only 3% of people of the sports compete. 3%. And this is counting people competing once or twice a year. So you have to 97% of people out there, they're doing the sport for other reasons. You know, at your time, at my time, that was only competitors, man. The big majority, the vast majority, you know. And it's still, well, at my time, your time, the audience were competitors, boom, period. Now the audience changed for competitors to practitioners.
Right.
So it's not just competitors, or practitioners. We still don't have fans. Very few fans. You know, they're fans of jiu-jitsu. The MMA has fans. Jiu-jitsu has practitioners.
Practitioners that watch the world, yeah.
It's different, yeah. People that support, it's good and bad, right? It's good because they will be there. They're practitioners. They will be there.
Right.
Families and everything else, but it's bad because we never jump to a next level of pay-per-views, or you know, it's a little bit different. You have to understand more, and that's the future, I believe. You know, it's build the next phase of the sport.
You know, one more time on the rivalries. You know, when I was younger and going to the Master Worlds. And I just reminisce, and I just think of the other team, and now we're like, there's such a bond there still. And it's because when I think about why, and it's because that guy, he brought out the best in me, right? The opponent, the best in me. And so there's a deep respect and like love, whereas you thought you hated the guy, right? But now as you're older, you realize this guy brought out the best in me.
Yeah. But you see, Alberto, it's not everybody who thinks this way. That's another thing. I'll tell you this, that's, as a coach, and I taught MMA high performance, you have to kind of find a way to bring that feeling on the athlete. I mean, what is important to you, man? What is really, truly important to you? Truly. That's not, oh, I want a fame. Yeah, you want a money. Well, a lot of people want fame. A lot of people want money, but fame and money to do what? You know, it's fame and money to score more goals. Just okay, it's part of the game. It's to score more goals, to buy something that you really wanted, or want more fame and more money so I can build up a bigger picture thing, or support my family, or given, you know, all this has to be discovered so you can turn. You know, you got to turn the no regret type of valve over there. You know, man, don't leave it ever. Don't regret anything. Do your best. Make sure that everything there is in line, that you really, when you finish this camp, when you go to a fight, there is no regret in what you're doing. It was right. You know, if you feel like you could do it better, you were screwed up by that, you know, by the ghosts. Regret kills more than failure ever will, right? Regrets kills more dreams than failure ever will. I was listening to this line of the day. I even posted. But that's true. Do the best that you can from that. But you got to get the trigger.
Yeah. Yeah.
Got to get the trigger, you know, and that's something that you got it because you got that mental discipline on, you know, I remember, you know, I see you as athlete. I have seen it. And everything you do is kind of, you have that. And it's not passion only, man. Passion make you start. But discipline will make the dream come true because you're not gonna wake up every day flared up. Oh, but this is effort. No, man. If you're not disciplined or create a habit that it's not even you notice that there's there, you know, the habit is habit. You brush your teeth every day or take a shower every day is a habit. You know, if you do, it's not something that you're gonna make an effort doing it, but you're not going to wake up every day motivated, inspired. You have to have that. That's it. I'm doing anyway, you know, that's it.
When I was named after my grandfather. His name was Albert, and he lost his eyesight when he was a teenager. He was 14, I think, 14, 15 years old. He lost his eyesight, and you know, New Mexico. He dumped into the water. He actually lied about his age. He had an older brother that went into like some kind of army reserve, and he jumped into the water. His eyes got infected, and the guys told him to keep training, you know, and they ended up losing his eyesight. They took his eyeballs out, so he lost his eyesight. Both. They took the eyeballs out.
You know, I have a visually impaired daughter. My daughter is visually impaired.
Right. Yeah, so I wanted to kind of touch on that, and so yeah, when he was 4, so he got sent. He took his eyeballs out, and then they sent him to live with his sister. Actually, she lived in Los Angeles, and he said back then they had him weave baskets, you know, like somebody handicapped, like that was gonna be the rest of his life. And he's like, you know what, I want to do more with my life, and so he applied to his Congress guy for him to go to college, go to university, and so he got in. He went to university. He went to law school, became an attorney, became a judge later on, was in politics, blind, you know, had 3 kids, you know, I'm his grandkid, right? So kids and grandkids, had a really super inspiring, you know, I got to spend a lot of time with him when he was old, and he's always been a big inspiration, you know, and he would always say, where there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah.
And so what is your mindset? You know, you have your daughter, you know, vision impaired. And, you know, coming from your martial art background, and I just can't help but think like, man, that's something, and that's something right there, you know?
Yeah. Well, one thing I knew, man, from the get-go, and that's something that you learn from martial arts, but you learn a lot from competition too, man. Alberto, you competed and you lost. Man, that can inspire you, or it can really, you know, demote you to a point that you're not doing anything. I can't not keep moving. For me, is I do have this, I don't know, man, maybe it's a genetic component or some sort of acceptance of dealing with the failure with the desire to get better. You know, that's the key. The key. People talking about winning and everything. Winning is amazing. And if you have the champion's mentality, you're gonna be exploring the best to get the best results on that. And it's all right. It's all good of it. But it's when you lose, that's when the metal man is tested. Because that's when you have something that you can't control, like your grandfather had it, or like I had in my life. I almost lost my kid, and she ended up blind. And it was, what do I do with this? What I do with this can be, I got this golden ticket to be a loser, and you know, and drink up and do everything else, or I can try to work at the least to. My life is to provide happiness for her, or an aim for her to be happy. You know. And that's something that really I work every day to at least control my feelings and things that happen to me to make not affect her directly, because that's my goal. My goal is, and I have this goal through the sport that I love it so much that I think is special, to see people understand what I'm understand. Understand is one thing, Alberto. Do it in every day. That's the hardest part, man. I can't try to understand your grandfather. I have way more connection to what you're saying than the majority of people that have in my daughter. But go live it every day. You know, go make the change. You know, you can be inspired by many things, or by your story, or by my story, but the daily basis thing, man, is gonna make the difference if you really just suck it up and just keep moving and do what you got to do. It doesn't matter what you do. That's what champions are made of. Champions are made of, for me, is not, that's just not when everything is right, when everything is good, and when everything goes well. It is when everything went wrong and you keep on going, not losing faith. That's what we're not finding an excuse. We're not finding an excuse. An excuse is so easy to deplete, to get out. No, man, just suck it up like everybody else. Take your bite on the shit sandwich and just move it. Don't lose faith. That's what I took from my time of martial arts. You know, I still learning, man. I still developing, but I have the certainty that I can. I have the certainty that I lost before, that I put myself together to come back again. And I keep on going. And just keep on going, and just keep on. All the shit's gonna come up, and you're going to step back, but you just keep on going. You just keep on going. You know, don't let despair come. You know, frustration will come. Just don't lead to despair. Despair leads to terrible things. Frustration will come. You're gonna get frustrated. You're gonna get sad. You're gonna be pissed. You're gonna, whatever emotions that comes over here. Deal with your emotions, working on them. Don't try to dig it and hide it and everything. It's just, it is what it is. But you said it. There's some things are bigger than you, man. Understand that. Believe in whatever you believe in. Karma, destiny, Santa Claus, you know, whatever you believe it, whatever you decide to believe, just believe it's something bigger than you. Because sometimes it's just, all right, that's it. Let's keep going. That's it. And I learned that, man, I learned that from my times at Carlson Gracie. I learned from competing. I learned from losing. I learning from exposing myself there. I learning from life. That's my take. That's what I think that's more valid than just win. You know, I know there's, for a high level professional performer, sometimes you can't understand that, but people will understand that. On a daily basis, you're going to have this unsuccessful, they're going to lead to it, something that's bigger. You shouldn't quit, you know? Yeah. And I live that, brother. I say that, but I do this. Sometimes struggling more than other days, you know? Yeah. But I do live this.
How old is your daughter now?
13.
13. Wow. Same age as my son.
What day that he was born?
May 10th.
Okay. Mine is December 29.
29.
Yeah. She is. And Alberto, she is, I think, you know, I'm biased, but she's such a special human being, you know? She's amazing. She's amazing in so many different ways that I can't even tell you. You know, how many lessons she taught me, you know, how many lessons that she's exposing the world to do it. So my education to her has everything to do with, find something that you inspire. Find something that you love it. Find something that you find meaning to it. Find something that you don't think that's not going to suffer because of this choice. You will suffer, doesn't matter what you do. No matter what you do in life, when you take a route, it will encounter problems there. There's no other way. That's life. But you're passionate about it and you know much about it. That brings happiness. Happiness is the meaning of life. That's the pursuit has to be for happiness. That's it. And you and me, because I'm closer and closer, and we talk about this all the time, but we're never going to retire, Alberto. We are never going to retire. I'm not talking about business, man. I'm talking about when you're passionate about things like we are. We're at 9 years old. If we have a chance, we're going to have our geese, and we're going to inspire people to start.
100%.
That's it. And that's our retirement plan. That's something that it's hard to explain to somebody else who don't understand, don't live what we live, you know?
Yeah.
You know, it's money. Wow, there's a lot of other industries there is going to pay more than ours. But there's a lot of people that will not have this chance, man. You know, I truly believe that. You know, yeah, it's true.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
When I maybe I go visit you one day, I'd love to show you those club bells. They look like bats, you know, the steel the club bells, you know. And I'd love to give you to play around also for your daughter too, to kind of for the proprioception, the spatial awareness and stuff.
Yeah, brother. We got to come. I'm in Orlando, so everybody who's 13-year-old kid, you got to come.
I'm gonna come to Orlando just for you. I'm gonna visit you one of these days. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Master. It's always great, you know, just to talk to you. And I really appreciate everything. I appreciate you, you know, for your example and from all these different, you know, experiences.
I appreciate you a lot, Alberto, man. You know it's true. It always was, you know, it's not different now. That's the best thing about it. I think more people like you should be more in evidence. You know, it's unfortunate for us, like it or not, it's like every sport, just who is, you know, in the landscape right now that shows up there. But if we continue doing this, you know, one of my missions is also is bring back memories like Dracolino and some other guy. It's all the representatives in a so much special way, you know. You guys have done it so much, and it's less next generation to hear about you and us, you know. That's to inspire.
You had a project, right? We did a video at the Worlds some years back. It was did that come out? Did that video come out?
Oh, Alberto, that video.
We did a video.
We did a video. I got so many.
We did an interview.
I got so many great content from that. The kid lost all the content. That was a kid
from
university. Can you believe that? There was a kid from university.
Oh my God.
He gave the camera with the guy. There was a tape recorder camera on the guy, and because those cameras are from the university, somebody took the tape and it just lost everything. I don't even want to go there. That's just terrible. But it's all right. Life goes on. But
That's it.
I'm teaching at university. I want you to come here one day, man. Just come over. You know, if you can come over to teach.
So tell me about that part. Yeah, I would love to. You know, maybe that's what I'm gonna go. Tell me some more about that the project you're doing with the university.
So I started teaching a class. I started working for the kinesiology department, and we started teaching a class of beginner Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which is just approach beginning of everything from the history of the sport to the evolution of from self-defense up to jiu-jitsu competition and some of the MMA elements, you know, for jiu-jitsu itself, but very basic stuff. So just this implementation of jiu-jitsu. And after that, we spin off from this class to a level 2 class where we talk more about the culture of the sport. The culture of the culture. It's in essence, you know, every form of expression that the sports can bring, from music and art and cuisine, and, you know, from the acai to talk about Rio, to talk about the whole experience that you know because you live there. A lot of people had no idea.
We actually have a cafe with acai. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes.
We actually have a cafe with acai in it. You know, you talk about acai and the whole. I brought Brazil back with me.
Yes, but that's
that?
exactly what we're talking about here. If I can tell you that 70%, if I can tell you that 70% of the kids, when they start doing this class, they didn't even know what kind of language they speak in Brazil. I'm telling you, this is true. True. Everybody think it was Spanish. You know, no, it's Portuguese. So I had to explain. And you're talking about places like Rio and talking about places like Manaus, you know, from the Amazon, and São Paulo, and where is the Jiu-Jitsu strong from Minas. That's culture, man, you know? Yeah. And I hope you can come one day because you're a big part of that, you know, especially in America. And imagine if every university has something like this. This is the goal, you know, from there.
So it's part of the kinesiology department, and it's a credit class, or it's a
the credit class. There's 3 credit classes.
Wow, amazing! Wow, I would be the first guy to sign up right now if I lived there.
Now you gotta be teaching. You're gonna be teaching.
Yeah. Whatever, like whatever I need to do to be a part of this, you know, I'll be there, teaching and or be a part, sit there, you know, no problem.
Brother, listen, I appreciate you so much. You know that. Just know that I'm a big fan, Alberto. From the athlete, from the person, you know, thank you. Appreciate it. It's an honor to be here. All right?
Thank you so much.
Brother. Thank you so much. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Tchau. Obrigado.